graduating this May, and he was in China for a year, from 2014 to spring 2015. And when he came back, I was really amazed at how his Chinese had improved over the 1 year period. It was amazing. And he's a recipient of the Confucius Institute Scholarship. With that scholarship, he went to China for the year. And he also was a semi-finalist in the Fulbright Scholarship.
For economics research grant.
You want another?
No, I didn't.
That's a topic of your application, right?
Right.
And he got a job offer, which is something I think it's really big. He got a job offer at Accenture Manhattan. Have you heard about Accenture? It's one of the biggest consulting company in the world. So he already has a very prosperous job waiting for him right now. So Duogen's talk is called Chinese, the Future Language of Global Business. Welcome.
Let me see.
Oh, you don't need this.
Oh yeah, I don't need that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes, you can read it.
All right. Last time I was here, there was a much bigger podium, so you couldn't see I had flashcards. And I would like to speak on and on about this topic, but I have to simplify it down, so I'll probably be reading down a bit. So that's fine with it. And I definitely agree with Andrew's point. You got to find the personal method in everything you do. So I'm here to give the business language of the future. So people might tell you to learn Chinese because China represents one of the world's oldest and richest cultures in the world. People might tell you to learn Chinese because it is the most widely spoken and fastest growing language in the world. People might tell you to learn Chinese just because it is a unique and interesting language. But what people do not emphasize enough is that Chinese will become the business language of the future. Not simply because a lot of people speak the language, or that more people will speak Mandarin as a second language, but because China will become the most powerful economic force in human history. It is the future language of business, the language of making money. Those who are interested to make an impact within their own organization speaks fluent Chinese and understands China. It is no coincidence that the highest demand for U.S. workers who speak foreign languages is Mandarin Chinese. China has the potential to become the world leader in almost every industry, at every industrial practice, and in every emerging industry. The evidence is everywhere. The new technological innovations that come out of China doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. The latest drone technologies, the most developed mobile payment market, and most innovative applications such as stationless bike sharing is all happening in China, not the US. China is already decades ahead of the United States in terms of public and private infrastructure. For instance, Hangzhou, a Chinese city of 10 million people, had free public high-speed Wi-Fi since 2012. These achievements are being made all over China, and it best illustrates that an entrepreneurial Chinese democracy can be more effective and more efficient than a management team at a Fortune 500 company. More significantly, these development changes are happening so fast, even a friend from Tsinghua University texted me and said that I knew nothing about China, because I've been away just for a year. Nothing about China's economic dominance is a coincidence. It is no coincidence that General Motors would cease to exist without China, or that BYD, a Chinese automaker, made more electric cars than Tesla did since 2008 within 6 months last year. It is also no coincidence that China invests so much abroad for talent and capital. China is there to make sure they're ahead of their competition and not to imitate. Take any industry, even construction equipment. They made some more investments abroad overseas. They're ahead of their Korean and Japanese rivals, and their technology is only second to Caterpillar. I mean, the education demand in China is also limitless. It is also not a coincidence they make up the largest international proportion of international students in the Western world. The potential market sizes in every market segment is almost limitless compared to the West. The world's largest markets and game changers across every category exist in China. From the biggest of industries, such as having the world's largest retailer, Alibaba, to being the leader in the smallest of niches, such as having the world's largest demand for Western culture and appreciation classes. classes that can be sold up for thousands and thousands of renminbi. Even buying crickets in China is a multi-million-dollar industry. More significantly, some of these existing businesses make some American companies look like a national embarrassment, like our airlines, our infrastructure, and everything else you can think of now. All of these businesses that fail to navigate through these cultural barriers in China gets crushed. eBay, Walmart, Home Depot, Uber, Amazon. China has an alternative and sometimes an even more developed competitor. The next tech titan, Airbnb, with its lousy translated name and naive approach to attract the Chinese millennial market, will fail without a doubt. So if anyone who plans to sell short on a stock, definitely sell short that one. Yet others like Carrefour, the French supermarket chain, or Daimler-Benz or Yum Brands, so Yum Brands like KFC restaurants, have done exceedingly well in China. Why? Because they adapted and they accepted the terms. You need to build that relationship. You need to understand the culture and history beyond a superficial level. You need to communicate in a way that they can respect you. Without that respect, as a human being, you are worth nothing. Without that respect, you would get taken advantage of and crushed. Whether you work at college admissions, thinking about how to attract more talented Chinese students, or at a hotel reception, just trying to make sure that Chinese guests feels that much more welcome, as an entrepreneur, as a banker, as a tutor, as a basketball player, as an investor, I strongly urge anybody to learn more about everything about China before blindly lecturing Chinese people on how or what things should be done. They're not potential converts to your way of thinking. Seek every possibility to go learn more about China. Going to China and to connect with more Chinese people. It'll be a decision you'll never regret for the rest of your life, and you'll be much more ready and prepared to embrace what will be China's destiny. And anyone who's been to China can assure you of that decision, and anyone who knows anything about China can possibly make some money, but more importantly, make a difference. So that's my first nationalistic spiel of the speech, getting ready for the future. And the second half was something that Zhu Laoshi actually recommended me, is just trying to think of stories off what comes to mind. And I tried thinking a lot of stories that happened to me in China, such as the time I had kava with the Fijian ambassador to China, or had wine with the Swiss ambassador to China, or ran into someone in Nepal, someone from Nepal in Beijing, and ended up meeting that person again in Nepal, and somehow referring to that person helped me write a recommendation for the Fulbright for my economics research on the impact on Chinese tourism in Nepal. The possibilities to land opportunities are literally limitless in China based on the connections you can make there. And the one important lesson is, no matter what story I have, the story that I think is most important is that listening is really the ultimate form of communication. And that is especially true of business. The best way to persuade others is simply by listening to them. And letting them tell you about that product, or about that idea, or why things look like that. Why does the Blue Moon detergent bottle look so weird? Oh, it's just because it fits in the distribution bins suited for e-commerce. Those are the kind of connections you need to make on one personal level that you can make only knowing Chinese or somewhat about Chinese culture. I mean, in terms of stories, there's flowing water all around. Yet I only need a scoop of it and be satisfied with what I have. And let me think of just other stories. So anyone had any idea or like story I should tell? Or what about me learning Chinese or something like that? Yeah, I think so. I heard that thought somewhere. I appreciate the input. So I remember my first couple months in China, in that dreaded lecture hall, listening to whatever that person is saying in front of me. And I didn't really learn much. It was just sort of regurgitation practice. So I remember I got out the blank notebook, and I went onto the street, and I started listening. And by listening, I managed to pick up a lot of dialect words from different provinces I traveled to. I managed to pick up some Korean because Every time they hear "mida," you know that's a verb, and every time they say "yo," that's the next sentence. I mean, just as one example. Russian is even more interesting, like how they have that same accent when they speak English and Chinese based on the Cyrillic alphabet. But there's really a lot of amazing things that you can achieve. And I'll just end that note on here, just for the sake of time. So sorry. All right, great.